This is a Talking Technology podcast clip.
Joe, I know you weren't unfortunately able to make it to the Glide demo day on Saturday, but you've heard a lot about the Glide at this point.
Yes, David, I have heard an awful lot about the Glide, and I suppose I have different thoughts on it. But after hearing your experience there, I won't spoil anything. I think things are looking up and a lot more positive, and I think it's a really interesting product. Really interesting product. And let's hear what Derry has to say, and we will see how he feels about it.
Absolutely. So Derry Lawler sent us a note. Derry, of course, from Dublin. He was at the demo day on Saturday, and he had a really positive experience, Joe.
Hi, David, Joe, and everybody. Hope you're all keeping well. It's Derry Lawler here from Dublin. Well, last Saturday, the 7th of June, I trundled my way to the Wayfinding Centre, which I never knew even existed, in Glasnevin. Now, the Wayfinding Centre is used to be old Smurfit's building, for people who know it, in Glasnevin. So I got there shortly after 9, and I heard Amos Miller, and I said, wow, that's the founder. And then one by one, we were taken by Luke, the other guy that was with him, to show us the Glide device. So he held it up for me, and he said, so I could feel the thing. It's quite small, and I could hold it, so it felt the weight. I'm not very good at weights, maybe 10, 11 pounds weight, good sturdy weight, you know. And then the handle was adjusted for my height, because I'm not a very tall person. And he showed me the 3 buttons, so the left, the middle, and the right button. And he says, relax your shoulders, he says, and don't push. He says, just step out with your right foot, your dominant leg. And I was holding my right hand, and the 2 wheels were on the ground, so I just started walking. It went easily forward, and then within a very few seconds you could hear the noise of the wheels turning me right and left around stuff that was on the ground, suitcases and little chairs and couches and cushions, and it was like an obstacle course, and it blew my mind away, the walking, following it basically left and right and around, and then it brings you towards following the corridor down. It brings you right to the wall, but it breaks well before the wall and kind of backs you up a step. And I couldn't believe it. So it turned around and came back. And I was quite shaken out, because I felt, oh my God, this thing, you know, you only know how good something is, but which you haven't touched really, if you haven't hit off. With the stick, with the cane, you tap. It's like an obstacle avoider rather than an obstacle finder. Opposite to the cane. But so I said, can I do it again? He said, sure. So I did it again, and I couldn't believe it. Perfect again. And then he stepped in front of it, and it braked. And what comes, the wheels lock, I suppose, and then it wheels you, kind of gives you a little push back, so you step back a little bit. So, but it's not a forceful push. It's kind of like a reflective push back, you know, so you can walk back and push it forward, so it goes around the person. Something else complete. I couldn't believe my experience of it. It was just something incredible. I can't even put it into words. It's not, the device isn't ready, I don't think, yet. I'd love to try it in the open streets, going in my local area or even in town where I work. It's going to be incredible. I am definitely, the next time the Open, if it comes up for funding, I'm definitely going to put my money down for one. I definitely am. I'm going to start saving last Friday. I have actually started saving, and I'm definitely going to get one. I'm quite excited about this device. I think people will be shocked by how good it is. That's the plus side. It's going to be incredible when it is out, but it's going to take a little while longer. I don't think we're going to see it in this country until maybe July of next year or August of next year. And my wish is that the device that they bring out is going to be so good, they just need to do software updates, like the large language model and the AI part of it. But how that talks to you yet, I don't know. But it's definitely a device. I want my name. I want to be down for one of the first people to get, you know, one of the first people in North Dublin to get it anyway. So it was great, and only for I'm on the magazine, the VI Tech Tippets, and this podcast. I wouldn't have heard of I wouldn't have even heard about the thing coming up because it was so unadvertised, really. So David and Joe and everybody in the team in Vision Ireland, well done for publicising it anyway, because it has been on nowhere else, really, So thanks again, and talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, Derry. And I think Derry is a happy camper, Joe.
Derry is very, very excited and positive for the release of Glide, but I don't blame him. He was very taken back by the way it guided him towards or around things, and he gave a really, really good description there, Derry. Thanks so much for giving us that explosive description. It was really, really lovely voice note. It's nice to hear somebody getting blown away by a device. It's a long time since I've heard anyone getting blown away by something, I suppose. But look, that's only Derry's opinion. I think people still have to try it for themselves, but that is great to hear. And nice to see Derry has the piggy bank out and he's going to fill it up.
Hey,
hopefully have the 15 or whatever it costs.
Indeed.
I won't name any prices yet because I don't know the exact price, but it's well over 1,000 anyway. Next year, Derry, best of luck. Hope you've saved up enough, and you will be the first man in North Dublin to be brought to a public house with this device.
Indeed. It's funny. So on the Friday before we did the public demos on the Saturday, staff, and I was saying this on the podcast that we had over the weekend, that staff from Vision Ireland and Guide Dogs got to try out the device a bit and put it through its paces. And I was trying it on the Friday, and the length it has developed since I tried it. I originally tried it for the first time back September of last year over in the Thomas Pocklington Trust in London. And then it, like, bluntly, it was like a remote control on a stick, a remote control car on a stick. And it had a nice kind of tactile feel to it, but it was hard on the shoulders. There were a lot of different challenges to it, and I went in maybe a little cynical on the Friday and the Saturday, but it's come such a long way. One of the things that we did was we had a number of staff line up along an opposite wall to me, and they all walked towards me and kind of scattered and simulated a crowd. And the device just weaved through them. And similar to what Derry said, one of the staff from Guide Dogs just walked directly out in front of the device. And like that, it kind of just stops. And it felt to me very tactile. It was like... I'd hit something with a cane. But I asked the person, did that hit your feet or whatever? And they were like, no, it didn't. It stopped about a foot away from them. And for me, I've got to say, and like Derry, I think it's got a long way to go, in my view. I think there's still a lot of things that it needs to develop, but they're certainly on the right track. And where I went in cynical, now I definitely see the potential that, maybe this isn't going to replace my cane for me for a while. I definitely do see value in it in the longer term, because not everybody can use, for whatever reasons, be they, practical, cultural, whatever. Not everybody's able to use a guide dog, Joe. So, there are a lot of advantages in that respect as well.
No, I really think that Glidance are doing a great job in the development of this product, because they're listening to user feedback, and whatever issues they have had, they seem to have improved them and changed the curve, so the curve is going from, I suppose, a straight line up to a positive line, so people are starting to get the feel for how this device is supposed to be used now, rather than, as you said, it felt more like a remote on a stick the last time. Now you were getting impressed by it as well, David. So I suppose the way they're going about it is definitely the right way. User feedback from a blind or vision impaired community is the only way to develop a product like this. I think you can't beat getting some feedback from people like Derry and the other Vox Pops that we're going to hear soon. So I think it's great to see this in development and be close to the product when it's getting developed like this. So I'd have confidence that they will get there and develop a suitable product to hit the mainstream blind blind community.
Absolutely. Like we should always say that, we always kind of say in Vision Ireland that, don't, if you can avoid it, don't spend your money before you get to try something like this. These are very expensive devices and they are creating a lot of hype. The Glide devices, it's creating a lot of excitement for understandable reasons. So just be careful. Don't just, throw your money at something until you're sure that it is for you. So that may mean, waiting, having patience with it a bit. I'm definitely not buying one just yet, but it is definitely an exciting one. So as I said, lots of people came to the Glide demo day on Saturday in the Wayfinding Centre, and after people tried out the device, I managed to catch up with lots of them to hear their views, hear their thoughts on what they thought of the device. Some had really positive perspectives, some raised some really interesting questions. So here's what happened when I caught up with a selection of the gang that tried the Glide device on Saturday. Bobby, you've now tried Glide for your first time trying it. I suppose before I ask you how you found it, were you sceptical coming in?
Very skeptical. I think if anyone has used a mobility aid before, be it a cane or a guide dog or whatever you feel most comfortable using, you're going to have ran into various issues in the past. And I think that this is a brand new tool that we're going to be able to use in the future. There's definitely an air of skepticism, but I think it's because it's brand new and we're all kind of, who's the new kid,
Sure. So now that you have used it, do you still have that skepticism?
I think it's really good that the Glide team are here and they're kind of doing the rounds in the UK and Ireland and getting the users' feedback and input. I think it's really exciting that we're going to be able to have a say in how this is shaped and built for the future, because it is going to be quite personalized, I think, towards the individual user. So the fact that we're getting a say in how it's made, I think will be really, really beneficial in the future. So it's not that I'm still skeptical, but I think there's a long way to go. But I think I'm optimistic for the future that they're being so open and open to various partnerships, like with the different users and stuff, and all of our opinions. You can tell that they're really valuing them, and we're asking questions, they're asking questions, and there's a real kind of desire for actual understanding of what both sides wants.
You're a guide dog user primarily at the moment. Do you ever see a future where you're primarily a Glide user?
I think there are pros and cons to both. I think this would be if you're able to have this on the side, if you're someone that travels a lot. That's something that I keep on coming back to today, because you're not going to need to like bring a week's worth of food with you for the Glide,
Yeah.
Or you won't need to find like a spending area in the airport, or say I could bring this to Portugal, for example, whereas I don't particularly want to bring my guide dog to Portugal in the middle of summer. That's just my own preference.
Yeah.
Everyone does things differently, but I think this would be a really beneficial tool if you're someone who is doing a lot of air travel, traveling kind of on land, train, bus, car, however you do that is doable with a guide dog. Not that the air travel isn't, but I think this would be a lot less cumbersome in my opinion. But I think that's definitely where it would come in for me personally.
So, Stuart, you've tried Glide for what I think is your second time now. How did you find the experience? How has it evolved since you tried it last?
Yeah, that's right, David. So I tested Glide when I was at CSUN in California earlier this year. It was my first time seeing it. It was very exciting. And then I came back here today. And I suppose if I was to compare the experiences today, it felt more consistent. In California, it was a little more jerky. The turns were very pronounced. But today I was walking what I felt very naturally, as I would with my cane, pretty much at the same speed as I would with my cane. Following Glide as it turned me gradually without that jerkiness. It just felt very nice, and there was an element of real freedom that I got from it.
Could you see yourself using the Glide in a serious sense as a primary mobility aid in like 3, 4, 5 years' time?
I would like to think so. I'm very much currently thinking about Glide in a safe space like we are today at the Wayfinding Centre is really exciting. I'm wondering about Glide in the centre of Dublin City, where I almost feel society needs to understand Glide. Society understands what a guide dog is, what a white cane is. And I think there'll be that transition, and maybe it's us getting comfortable with society's perception of a new mobility aid. But certainly I'm very excited. I think my cane will still be in my back pocket for a while, but I'm very excited about it.
Jade, you've also tried Glide before. This is your second time trying the device, I think. So how did you find it, and how has it evolved for you?
So when I tried it back in March, in CSUN, it would have been very, very different to the experience I had today, in that it was just very twitchy, I'd say, and it pulled a lot more. But today it was definitely more seamless. It guided you around the obstacles. There was it didn't have to think. It just, you went around it, that was it. And then it stopped at a dead end. When it breaks, then it pulled you back. So you still have to think as well for yourself. Do I need to go this way or that way? Mm-hmm. So it's definitely, it's a fantastic product, and I think once it's finished, it will definitely be one to watch.
Interesting. So you're a guide dog user. There's a lovely little guide dog at our feet here. But in 4-5 years time, do you see yourself potentially being a Glide user, and in what contexts?
I think for me, my preference has always been a guide dog. I just like that companionship. But I think if I was, say, if for whatever reason that I couldn't get a dog or whatever, I definitely would favour having a Glide device. But I also think being able to use your cane as well is no harm, just as we were previously talking about before, being able to find things that you might want to know what it is. So I think having some way of finding what might be in front of you instead of going around it as well is always good. But I would definitely, yes, I think using Glide in the future would be definitely on my list.
So Sarah, you have now just tried Glide for the first time. I suppose, what were your impressions of it?
So I am a guide dog user, and I have never really liked using my cane. I've used the cane since I was about 1.5, but I've never liked using the cane because of that. I've always found a guide dog to be an obstacle avoider, whereas I find a cane hits into obstacles, and I just don't like that in terms of mobility wise. And I found the Glide device was very much in between the two, in terms of, I think the dog has a bit more autonomy, which I like, and based on what they were saying about the progression of the Glide device, that will probably get in time as well. But at the moment, I found it's very much between the cane and the guide dog. So I wouldn't substitute out my guide dog in terms of I wouldn't replace my guide dog, but I would definitely find in situations where I can't bring him and it wouldn't be suitable to bring him, I would definitely opt for the Glide device over the cane. I found it initially very, very interesting to use.
So Glide over cane, but not yet over guide dog?
Yes, for me personally.
Okay. And you also raised a really interesting point that I think, it's probably a very early stage to have this discussion, but it's a valuable discussion nonetheless. But you mentioned a concern that you would have around, in the future, are we going to see more refusals of guide dogs, or that becoming almost more acceptable as alternatives such as Glide start to take off?
Yeah, so I already, you do get a bit of difficulty sometimes bringing your guide dog into places, and refusals in taxis, or say trying to get the dog on an airplane can sometimes be quite difficult, and you have to jump through hoops and whatever. And I wouldn't want there to ever be a scenario where they would, say, restaurants or taxis would be allowed to refuse guide dogs on the basis that there is an electronic alternative. Because I would find that, there's always going to be situations that a dog can navigate that, say AI wouldn't necessarily, just dynamic situations that can just change, and, living in, public spaces and just the general environment, it's so changeable, and there's like very little standardization. And I find, you know, AI might be able to manage that, but I wouldn't want to be forced into, I wouldn't want the choice to be taken away from me, because I am a guide dog user. I have been a guide dog user for over 7 years, and I will continue to be a guide dog user. Will I eventually get one of these Glide devices? Maybe, possibly. There is also the cost element, in terms of the Irish guide dogs are very, very kind enough that they charge €1 for a guide dog, whereas these devices are quite a bit more expensive, and there will be a subscription fee, which might be, you know, a barrier to, say, economically disadvantaged people. So a guide dog at this moment in time would also be the more affordable choice. So I definitely feel like the choice should not be taken away from us based on, you know, dogs' access rights and stuff.
So I'm here with Agle, who works for a Lithuanian national public radio and television, and she flew in all the way from Lithuania this morning and came directly from Dublin Airport over here to the Wayfinding Centre just to try Glide. So very excited. But Agle, how did you find trying Glide? Did it live up to your expectations?
Oh yeah, it's amazing device. I felt like a sighted person. First of all, I was really I was felt something weird, because, you know, robot guides me, but after a few steps, I just like sighted people. I can go through obstacles safely. I can go fast because I like fast walking, and that's why I really waiting for this device in order to safely go through obstacles, to safely cross the street, to safely find the safest way for me.
So you're super excited still after trying the device?
Yeah, actually, I'm much more excited when I was before, because I saw that device is really lightweight, and also it's quite small, because I thought that how, for example, go with plane, how to pack that device. And yes, I saw that it's really small device, really lightweight device, and and it's really easy to pack, easy to put somewhere if you don't need to use it. It's easy to understand device, how it goes, how to, and it's really fine thing for me to go fast. I just tried to go really fast, and you know, sometimes I feel really weird. It's like people who leads me fast and suddenly turn and go through obstacles, and it was really interesting experience. But and I cannot believe that I can go really fast.
You liked it. Awesome stuff. Agle, thank you so much for coming over. And have you enjoyed Ireland so far?
Oh my gosh, Ireland is one of my favorite countries.
Yay!
Since now, and I definitely will come back to this wayfinding center, because it's really interesting concept for me to learn how to use white cames, how to use things, and I definitely want to tell people from Lithuania what good thing you have in Ireland. It's really wonderful.
Absolutely, something we can be proud of. Agle, thank you so much. And there you have it. It's always great to hear the perspectives from a wide variety of voices. So thank you so much to everyone who shared their views after trying the Glide device. Lots of positive reaction in there, and some questions too. Joe, was there anything that stood out to you from that? Really interesting perspectives.
Well, I suppose stood out for me, I'm not sure. I just thought all the comments were all trending towards the positive end, whereas before, when I've spoke to people about Glide, is it was more like, it's okay, it's a long way to go. Where I think everybody's seeing now that it's kind of got the potential to hit the finish line,
Yeah.
And people can see themselves using it. I think the lady, Sarah, was the third lady, had the guide dog.
Sarah or Jade both have guide dogs.
Yeah, Sarah. It was after Jade. Yeah, Sarah. She mentioned that it might be something she'd use on occasion. But unfortunately, I think if you do go for this kind of device, it's a landmark purchase, and there's also a subscription. So I don't think it's one of those devices you would use on occasion. It's either going to be your primary navigation aid, or it's not. You know what I mean?
To a point, like I think I could see a scenario, right? For example, where I think to Sarah's point, like, with travel or on a plane or something like that, that maybe, you almost have, like, let's say you get to an airport in a taxi, for example, and then maybe, this looks like something like, a rent a glide setup or something like that, where, you just rent a glide like you would rent a car or something like that in different scenarios. Or perhaps you use it maybe to, in time, guide you within an environment like a shopping centre or something like that. I think there are scenarios where I would understand Sarah's point, but I think to your point, definitely considering the price of it, you would certainly, like, you couldn't afford, at least most people I don't think could afford to spend the money. I think they're talking around $1,500 and then a $30 a month subscription, which is quite steep.
Yeah.
Like,
so David,
yeah,
that's where my point comes in. Like, I mean, if you go to the developer with one of your great ideas there of rented glide, of course, maybe if that was an option, I could see that being a runner, what Sarah was talking about.
Yeah.
But unless you have a bag full of resources, I mean, I don't think you use it as a secondary device. It's either going to be your device or it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but saying that our idea is does have merit. It definitely has a lot of merit. It's just there has to be another way of purchasing it if that was the case.
I mean, there's always the possibility that down the road you'd see government subsidies for things like this in a similar way to how things work with guide dogs currently, but to your point, yeah, you are right. I don't think anyone could afford to be spending 30 quid a month on this thing and, not using it, like in a similar scenario. I put my IRA subscription on pause because it just, I was like, I use it, I absolutely use it, and I see great benefits in it, but I only use it when I'm traveling for work. So like, and the amount at which I'm traveling for work, it's just not worth it for me. And I think Glide, it's going to be a similar balancing act for people, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's a case of maybe your circumstances will change. You can click go on that subscription again, and then maybe your circumstances might change again, and you can click pause on it. That's a great, I suppose, ability to have at your fingertips. But yeah, look, I think there will be changes down the line, different price model, different ways of buying items like this, and look, I think everything that came from the demo on Saturday has, to me, sounded very, very positive. And look, hopefully there'll be even a competitor down the line of Glide. Look, they can see the merit. If people are positive about devices like this, we can see more coming on the market, more developers coming out there. But I think this is definitely a runner, and it looks like it's going to, as I said, get there for hopefully their target next year. Who knows? But people really feel comfortable being guided by it now, compared to when I've listened to reviews on this before. People were a bit jittery, a bit stop-startish, were not so sure about it. Whereas now it seems to feel a lot more natural in the hand, David. I get the feeling from what all your interviewees have said.
Yeah, it absolutely does start to feel quite natural. I was surprised how quickly I felt relaxed with it, which is not what I expected, and how quickly I found myself trusting it, which is a different experience for me as a cane user. I'm used to having to trust myself, so trusting a device was slightly different, but I found myself trusting it quite quickly, which was really interesting. But yeah, so listen, thank you so much to everybody who shared their views with us. Really do appreciate it. A reminder that if you would like to share your views on Glide or anything else like that at all, we'd love to hear from you. You can send us a WhatsApp voice note or a message indeed on 086 199 0011. Or you can send us an email to content@vi.ie. A reminder that a voice note is not to call, so you want to use the voice message button located at the bottom corner of your screen.
Thanks for listening to this Talking Technology podcast clip from VI Labs. For more just like this one, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. There you can also find full podcast episodes. They're also available on your podcast app of choice and on the My VI Hub.